welcome back to Call Your Coven, practical advice for nonsensical times. So nonsensical, my brain was like, what are we doing here?
What even is this?
Yeah. Hello, my name is Bee, my pronouns are she, they, and I am your resident numerologist.
My name is Jeanna, my pronouns are she, her, and I am your resident astrologer.
And my name is Meg, my pronouns are also she, they, and I'm the resident tarot reader.
And today we are talking about May 2026. But I have to be honest, Jeanna, I'm still kind of basking in the glory of our conversation a couple weeks ago.
So good.
It was so good.
I hope everyone listened.
Yeah, Bea and I had a really fucking fabulous conversation about that intersection of witchcraft and writing fiction specifically, which is why it was just me and Bea, because my beautiful wife.
I don't do that.
Doesn't do that.
Respect and love so much. Could not be me. I don't know how y'all do it. I think it's amazing.
It was such a good, it was so nice to have it come out and hear everyone's just real positive reactions to it. And that I think helped to jumpstart me back into the novel, which I had taken a break from because I was traveling for a few weeks for family related things. And so it's been really nice to be sinking back into the novel this week with everyone simultaneously being like, hey, what books are you two writing? We're very excited for them. That's just been really lovely. So also thank you to everyone who's commented and listened and just otherwise encouraged us in our dastardly pursuits of publishing novels.
Ooh, yeah, I know. I'm still, for anybody who watched, Jeanna and I pulled cards for each other at the end, and it was so amazing. And also, I'm still being a little bit trolled by the Page of Swords. I know. But ultimately, it was so great. And I just thank you for having that chat.
Yeah. Also, our books will at some point be coming to a bookstore near you. So,
Yes.
It's going to happen. Stay tuned. Follow us on social.
So be it, so it is.
Stay informed. Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, yeah, I don't have any official announcements about a book at the moment. I don't even know that I have that many announcements about what I've been lovingly calling the Beco system in my newsletter. I know.
Oh my God. That's so fucking cute.
I'm working on a new website that's around that idea. But everything's just kind of slow going for me. I am focusing a lot on school and kind of working behind the scenes. So subscribe to my newsletter and we'll see what happens. That's my big announcement for May.
Love it.
My announcement is only going to apply to people who are listening to the podcast today, this morning, this afternoon. So April 24th is officially the last day you can sign up for Book Deal Breakthrough, which starts on Sunday, April 26th. And we're going to be doing magical rituals and publishing how-tos in the same fucking intensive, because sometimes you're a writer who needs to remember you're a witch in order to actually put your spells and your spreadsheets to use to help you get published. I'm super stoked. I have a ridiculous guest lineup. Our dear friend Casey McQuiston, who we hung out with literally yesterday, is going to be visiting. My agent Dana Murphy, my heretic editor Jenny Shu, who's now a senior editor at Atria, which is Simon & Schuster, Lily Danziger, Nikki St. Crow, Carla Bruce. It's just a stacked lineup of industry guests. So I think everyone should do it. I think everyone who, especially who doesn't have an agent and who's also trying to get an agent or trying to self-publish within the next year or work with an indie or small press, I think this is going to be fucking amazing. So anyway, but only applicable if you're listening to this episode the day it comes out.
If you are, that's awesome. Perfect time.
Yeah.
So Jeanna's going to be literally doing magic for everybody who's part of the program.
Oh yeah, I forgot that. I'm going to be running spells for everyone behind the scenes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, cool. Jeanna's book magic is solid shit. So you're going to want in on that.
Thank you, babe.
Of course. The only announcement I really have is not a new thing, but it is a rebranded, refreshed thing. A couple of years ago, I launched a signature membership program. At the time, I called it the Conservatory, but I've been hard at work rebranding it, giving it a new name, some new features, some new cool shit. So now it's called the Hermitage. Because we're all hermits, and it turns out everybody wants to be quiet and do their own work and keep their eyes on their own paper. So I've rebranded it to be more, that's the vibe. So, but I've added some really cool features, including downloadable audio missives from me, some monthly co-working sessions to keep you on track, a landing page for easy navigation, and a lot more. So if you're kind of sick of reading tarot like everybody else, if you feel like your readings are a little cookie cutter, like you want to bring a little bit of your own personal magic and story into it, if you want to feel like you can trust your tarot cards the way that you trust your best friend, the Hermitage is for you. And I would love to invite you in. So you can sign up anytime, you can cancel anytime. It's a monthly rate. You can learn more at 3amtarot.com.
Yay.
That's what I got. That's my spiel.
I love it. Well, and I love, so hopping right into the numerology of May, we are talking about the number 5, and we'll talk about what that means. But the 5th house in astrology like holds creativity and passion and pleasure and sex and like all those good stuff. So I feel like both of your offerings, even the Hermitage in its own way, are really juicy for a month that is definitely rooted in both fun and freedom, but also some mental 6 energy, which we'll talk about, that is great for expanding your horizons, for letting in new information, for seeing things from a different perspective, and also for asking for help. So I think both of your programs have such supportive, like peer and community opportunities. And of course, the Hierophant too in 5, right? Like going to someone and having kind of the mysteries revealed to you. So in case anyone was on the fence,
Yeah, no, I love that. And also, I'm thinking about yours too, because you've been adding so many like community elements for the paid pals at your newsletter. Like you do Smut Club. I feel like you do a lot of really community oriented, like really beautiful accountability things and like connection things. So yeah, that does feel it all feels very interconnected in a very pleasure is good actually kind of way. So I love that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I know that's part of my restructuring is I have just been throwing a ton of stuff at my paid pals and then going, whoa, we're doing a lot here.
Yeah, no, you're really adding a lot. It's very cool. And I'm also like, babe, you're gonna have to start charging more.
Well, therein lies the rub, right? So this can be an offline conversation between the two of us. But it is actually interesting. So we were talking right before this about just kind of reiterating our structure here at Coven for those of you who may have joined, and we don't say this every time. So our structure here on Coven is we each provide you with a monthly forecast through the lens of our tools. So I have the numerology, Jeanna has the astrology, and Meg has the tarot. And we all have slightly different ways of approaching what a collective monthly forecast could look like through our modality. And then at the end, we kind of hit you with these cauldrons or buckets of life. We do finances, we do love, home, and health. Whoa. I was like,
health is always the hardest one for me to remember too, probably because I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah. And health. And then we hit you with some more practical advice, some dates to look at, some energies to think about. And actually, when I was considering my money bucket, I really did and I didn't end up writing this, so I'm glad this is coming up. But the word that came through was raise. And I was like, everybody needs to ask for a raise in May. Yep. And this doesn't mean you're going to get a raise in May, but there is something inherently valuable in the advocacy that it takes to ask for said raise. And so we can talk about that more when we get to finances. But yes, I think everybody, we're in the values soup here and making sure that the exchange is right. So yeah, there's a lot here.
I love that. I love that you just said that because I was like earlier this morning, I was just scrolling on threads, dissociating as you do. And yeah, I saw another thread. I saw a thread of somebody saying something like, and I'm paraphrasing here because this thought comes up all the time, but like, it's like everybody deserves to make a living wage. Everyone deserves to make more money. And y'all are so happy to say that until it comes to artists. And then you expect artists and teachers to work for like $2 an hour. And I was like, cannot say this loud enough. It's always true. It's like when it comes to artistry, creative practice, teachers, self-employed people, We all tend to undervalue our work. We all tend to undercharge. And then we can't pay our bills and we wonder why we're starving. So, yeah, just to say, like, everybody deserves to get paid more no matter what you're getting paid. If you're listening to this, you probably deserve to get paid more than you are. So ask for more. It's my hot take.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I do have a friend who in April asked for a raise and did
Good.
not get it. And so
Mhm.
this is like obviously the version of events we don't want to see happen.
But
And
that's
so
also so it's time to start looking.
Right.
It's
So now you
time
know.
to,
100%.
like,
Yeah.
oh, you can't, there's no more upward mobility at this job.
Yeah.
I got to go somewhere else.
Gotta start looking
Yeah.
somewhere else. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that this conversation is really interesting for money and beyond, especially right now in this really complex, like, are we at war? Are we still in late stage capitalism? Like, what prices are rising, rates are not. Like,
Mhm.
what's happening right now collectively, at least in the United States financially, is like so not sustainable. It's so not sustainable. And there's so much look over here, like distraction and
Mhm.
work at hand to like really have you looking at how it's not possible for you to be living in abundance at this moment. And I feel very tricky about it because, and I feel very tricky about my overall monthly forecast as well, because there is truth to all sides, you know, and sometimes like we're not in control of those situations and we can't
Mhm.
just like go out and open our palms and hope that money falls into them.
Right.
But I also don't want anybody to walk away thinking that they can't get what they want and can't actually get the value that they are worth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Tricky time.
Yeah. I was like, I was scrolling. I've deleted like Blue Sky Threads, TikTok off of my phone. But I do still have YouTube on my phone. And I love to watch Josh Johnson videos. So the YouTube short clips of him tend to get fed to me. And I bring this up because apparently he was on Trevor Noah's podcast, which I don't watch or listen to. But the clip that I saw yesterday, literally, is of Josh Johnson saying, "You don't get paid to do your job. You get paid not to riot." And that, like, I think that just very strongly is an echo of what you were just saying, and also of a lot of the underlying pieces, you know, of the US and global economy right now. You don't get paid to do your job. You get paid not to riot.
Yeah.
Whoa. All right. Well, we can just skip everything I've written for the month of May,
That's it.
and we'll just underline that 3 times.
See you in June.
Hope y'all survive it. Great.
God bless. Peace.
See you on the riot lines. Okay.
Lord. I mean,
Oh, Gina, thank you for sharing that. I'm going to be thinking about that for the rest of my life. I
Yeah,
can
same.
guarantee it. I can guarantee
Same.
it. Well, whew, I feel like I'm not going to make any friends during this monthly forecast, but that's okay because we're all already friends.
we're all
So-
pals. We're all a cousin.
Okay, May is the 5th month of the year. So we're obviously talking about the number 5. But in a 10-1 year, we are looking at a 15-6 overall month. And 15-6 is one of those number combinations, and specifically 5 and 6 is one of those number combinations that I've been thinking about a lot. We just finished week 15 of this year in April. What I wrote is that 15 is a number that holds the tension between the self, 1, and the change, 5, that is promised along what I poetically called the great unfolding. So 15 inherently is this liminal space, this in-between moment between who we were and who we are, and everything that goes along with that. And so, especially at the end of end of April, beginning of May, where we talked a lot about everything that was shifting in April. We definitely were talking about a shift happening and how we wanted to act during that shift. And now that we're in it, and the phrase that came through for May for us was turning the page. So we are turning the page, but we're also looking at where tension meets trust. And this is really tricky. A lot of people in my life and maybe in yours, Jeanna and Meg, and also dear listeners, have been talking about this idea of how to trust the process and how to trust the timing and what the day in, day out actually looks like when you're in this in between moment, in this liminal space, and you really want to be somewhere that you're just not. And how frustrating that is, especially in 2026, in this 10-1 year, because some changes are instantaneous. I was talking to Meg earlier and I was like, sometimes the wheel spins so fast. And then other times, and this is what they said, you're on this like really lovely carousel ride where you know that you're going in a circle, and you're moving through the cycle, but you're getting to look around. You're not really, you're, riding on some unicorn thing that's not really going very fast. So I think May is going to be more of the carousel ride. And this is where I might not make any friends. Some changes do take time, effort, attention, and repetition. The day you get the cast off is not the day you run the marathon. So May has this kind of, we're training, we're rehabbing, we are turning the page. There is forward movement. But we are still living kind of in that tension and having to hold the hope and hold the vision of like where we're moving, because 5 is definitely the birth canal. And then all of a sudden the baby's awake and screaming and alive. So I've been drawn to a lot, and this is getting to our practical advice. I've been drawn a lot to the idea of suffering kind of from the Buddhist perspective of like suffering is not something that we escape in this life. It's something that we learn to engage with and something that we learn to manage and to handle. And everyone has their own ideas about suffering. And so obviously from a intersectional lens, suffering is both personal and systemic. So I'm not talking about systemic oppression here. We're not in the riot conversation right now. I just want to delineate those two things. So what I'm about to say is about the suffering that we add as individuals to our lives. And Rob Bresney, who is an astrologer that I really love, and I'm going to link these newsletters in the show notes. But Rob Bresney wrote a newsletter a few weeks ago about suffering as an art. And it's so chock full of quotes from people from vastly different viewpoints. Like there's Pema Chodron, but then there's also Charles Bukowski, so you're getting like a wide range of thoughts about suffering. But what I pulled out was actually from Rob himself. And he speaks about the art of discerning what pain is necessary and what is truly optional. So necessary pain is the grief of loss and the ache of compassion. But optional pain is the torturous stories that we tell ourselves about how things should be different. So in May, we are taking Rob's advice that we're changing the conditions that create unnecessary optional suffering. He lists ignorance, bitterness, negligence, and clinging. Obviously, maybe you have your own ideas, but 6, like I talked about earlier, 5 is this emotional number. It lives in our stomachs. It's right smack dab in our bodies. It's like the nausea that comes and the anxious feelings that come with change and being in a spot that you don't want to be in. And what radical acceptance looks like is the work of optional pain. So 6 is this mental number. It's about expansion and engaging with other perspectives and other people. And it's this really kind of gorgeous number of blossoming and blooming. And it's also mental loops that we find ourselves in. It's like, what is the story again, if we're turning the page, like what is the story that we're attaching to the page that came before? And how is that not allowing us to actually move forward in our own lives? My practical advice, because I need to wrap this up. Do not rely in May on the quick fix. That's number 5. But if you do, and you rely on the quick fix, be prepared to really face number 6, whatever comes your way. That's not fear mongering. That is literally just physics, right? Equal and opposite reaction. Do embrace every invitation to authentically untie knots in your life. This is not the month to bypass or skip over things. Suffering is promised, but we don't have to add on to it. So we're showing up. This takes a lot of humility and a lot of courage, and that's okay. We can do that. The only way out is through, but we have survived everything so far. So don't rely on the quick fix. Do embrace invitation to authentically untie knots. And finally, do not forget that you are surrounded by options and support. Always, always, always. There are more options than you think there are, and there are more people and spirits and everything ready to support you through. So speaking directly to myself and my behavior in April, no isolating, no catastrophizing anymore than you already do. And that's May from a numerological standpoint.
Very resonant with the astrology as ever. Yeah, for astrology, the keyword that came through, and I'm not trying to do Bee's keyword thing, but like the keyword that came through for me for May is integration. All of the outer planets have officially made their big moves and are done making them. Like Saturn and Neptune are settling into Aries. Uranus is settling into Gemini. A historically fraught number of initiatory Aries conjunctions in April are over. Like, and we're now just sitting with the, the consequences, the aftermath, the result, the what's next, the Jed Bartlett, what's next of it all. And so now we get to like, not necessarily rest. That's the thing. Like it was very clear that like rest is not the vibe exactly, but at least like slow down, settle, and synthesize. And I love that because May begins in Taurus season, which is a blessedly slower pace than Aries season, period. And then later in the month, Gemini season arrives on the 20th. And Taurus is the stabilizing middle sign of spring here in the Northern Hemisphere. The energy is very much that of like settling in, in the rocking chair on the porch to watch the grass grow. Like that's the vibe. And the thing about Taurus season is that Taurus season, and Taurus is ruled by Venus, it reminds us that roots take time to deepen and to strengthen. Like a new tree's roots are not like a baby tree's roots are they're very fragile and they're very short compared to those massive roots you see like if you're with the redwoods and you just like know that those go so deep and are interconnected. And I think about this because as much as the word manifestation is like overused for Taurus, frankly, in pop astrology, internet astrology, I think that when it comes to the season itself, it's just important for us to remember that like manifestation isn't just the harvest, it's also the seeds going into the ground. It's also the seeds coming up. Like, again, it's not harvest, it's not instant gratification. Taurus is all about slow pleasure. So I love that you brought up the pleasure like stuff earlier, both of you, because Taurus wants to savor each part of a cycle. I personally am excited to be in a month that's going to move a little more slowly, that is also going to cool off a little bit, like Earth is cool from the heat that we've had in April and also March, frankly. This should be a less intense season, even with Gemini ending it, and Gemini is active, but like Gemini season is so much lighter than Aries season and Taurus. Gemini has a curiosity, an exploratory nature that holds things with an open palm. We're not like committed to an outcome. We don't have to have the right answer right now. And I think Taurus and Gemini season this month are bringing us just some really useful medicine for this especially heated moment. Yeah, there's not a lot of the major astrology for the year was front loaded in Q1. So we're mostly just sitting with what I might consider a normal zodiacal season, where the big events are largely the seasons themselves and then the lunations. And May is one of those unusual months where we have three lunations. We have a full moon in Scorpio on May 1st, and then a full moon also in Sagittarius on May 31st. So we'll have two full moons. And then the new moon that we have in May is on May 16th. It's in Taurus. And I am fucking stoked because this is the first new moon that we will have in Taurus that isn't co-present with Uranus in 8 years. And I think that perhaps a lot of us have forgotten just how settling, stabilizing, synthesizing, slow Taurus energy can be, because Uranus is very activating and was in Taurus for the last 8 years. So every Taurus season, Uranus was there churning it up a little bit. And now we finally get to have a very like leisurely Taurus new moon. I'm so excited. It's going to be great. Take a bath, go out to a fancy dinner, wear silk robes or linen or whatever, natural fabrics you love, like have sex, masturbate, do all the stuff. Like Taurus, like new moon in Taurus is all about sensory pleasure. So like treat yourself. Yeah. More to come in the specific topics for the cauldrons, but I, for one, am very relieved to have a mostly back to, again, not that the world is business as usual in literally any way, but to have an astrological month that's like pretty standard, all things considered.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I love it. So how I typically like to approach these forecasts is that I pull us a collective card for the month. It's just a theme, it's a vibe, it's an energy. It can be advice. It can also just be kind of an invitation. So take it or leave it, do what you will with it, but I don't typically read predictably. And then I like to pull a card for truth and a card for dare, and I will explain those as we come to them. So our theme card for May 2026 feels very appropriate to me. I pulled the Knight of Pentacles. And so the Knight of Pentacles, or the Knight of Earth, the adolescent of Earth, the apprentice of Earth, if you will. This vibe is very like slow and steady wins the race, but don't forget to stop and smell the flowers. So I feel like that integrates so much of what we've been talking about around tension and trust, around integration, around slow pleasure, around manifestation is the whole process, not just the end or like the reward. I feel like Knight of Pentacles just really is the card that I might have chosen out of everything to kind of like really hammer home what you both have said already about this month. I tend to think of the Knight of Pentacles as someone that kind of has their head down, sort of focusing on every step, really trying to make sure that they're always on solid ground, moving towards a specific goal. And that's often how I see this figure talked about. But I want to remind you that knights are knights. They are not pages. They are not queens. They are not kings. They are knights. Some people associate knights with air. I like to associate knights with fire. Either way, we're kind of bringing in those same elements that Jeanna was just talking about a few minutes ago with earth and either fire or air. But I want to remind you that knights are bold and charismatic. Knights are usually willing to take some risks for what they want. And knights are generally unafraid to take up space or try something different. And so when it comes to the realm of pentacles, to health and wealth and your physical daily life, to the tangible pleasures that you experience, to the things that you see and feel and touch and like have a sensory relationship with, some people are way more willing to take risks than others, right? So I want you to consider where you are willing to take risks in this realm of pentacles and where you're playing it safe. This month might bring some really lovely incremental progress towards your long-term goals, but it also might just be inviting you to slow the fuck down and enjoy the process of moving towards things that you're interested in. So don't forget to really intentionally invite in space for play, for pleasure, for creativity, for comfort, and for joy. Everything doesn't always have to be about crossing the finish line. Sometimes it really is the friends we made along the way. And I think that this month is really going to drive some of that home. I also pulled a truth card and a dare card. So truth is kind of an internal truth to consider, some questions to ask yourself, something to really challenge yourself around insights or reflection, or just something to consider about what might be bubbling up within you. And I pulled the star for us for May as a collective truth card, which I think is really sweet. What came up first for me was not a keyword, but was more like, what does keeping the faith actually look like for you? Or to say it another way, what are you learning how to believe in or reminding yourself of how to believe in? The star is often a card of hope after change, of finding our footing after a major shift or a period of chaos or a million planets being in Aries at the same time or an unexpected war or our president's inevitable slide into dementia, whatever your thing may be. It could be a lot of things. But the star can be smoke clearing. It can be the stars coming out of the night sky. It can also just be rubbing your sleep from our eyes after a nightmare. And so the star can be a lot of things, and that really depends on where you are in your own journey, what your recent towers may have been. My personal card for April literally was the tower, so I think it's very cute that we pulled this for May. But as a truth card, I think the star asks us to really consider where our faith lives, what we trust in, and what kind of future we are allowing ourselves to imagine. Radical imagination is so fucking important. And I know, at least for me and for a lot of the people I work with, there can be this tendency of like, well, that's not possible. Or I wouldn't want to imagine that could be a thing. I don't want to dream about that because I don't want to be disappointed. Or that'll never work. Or this will never happen. The world will never allow this. The billionaires will never allow this. Whatever. Tell the cop in your head to fuck off. Okay. The star is here to make space for belief and faith and possibility. So this month, pay attention to your truth around how your own sense of devotion and constancy impacts the dreams that you cultivate or the dreams that you allow yourself to cultivate. What do you actually believe is possible? What is your North Star and what are you reaching for? What is becoming increasingly clear to you? And what are you willing to put your faith in? The last card that I chose for us kind of collectively before we get into our cauldrons in a minute is our dare card. And this is an external risk to take. This is a way to challenge yourself. This is something to try doing this month. Again, you don't have to. I'm not your mom. Do whatever you want. But this is just an option if you're feeling a little bold, if you want to push yourself. And I pulled the Page of Wands, which I think, again, real fucking cute on the heels of all of this Aries energy and also on this 5 energy of like making change. What came up first is what is lighting you up right now? Where does your inspiration live and breathe? I personally like to think of the Page of Wands, which you can also think of as the intern of Wands or the child of Wands or the student of Wands, student of fire, intern of fire. But I think of this as kind of a rabble rouser. This is kind of a rebel in training, right? Somebody who isn't afraid to ask the weird question or make a bold move or try something out just to see what happens. I think where the Knight of Pentacles is more considered to be kind of responsible and reliable, the Page of Wands is really passionate and curious. And honestly, I think these cards can learn a lot from each other, so I love that we have them both. But as a dare for our month, the Page of Wands really asks us to let our desires and ambitions actually take up space, to let ourselves be actively inspired by the world that we're in, to actually have a relationship and a relational, reciprocal like way of moving through the world, especially around our inspiration, and to intentionally cultivate passion and magic in our everyday. So this month, my dares are very simple for you. I dare you to do something unexpected. I dare you to name something that you want and actually make the brave step towards making it real. I dare you to let your desire guide a choice or a decision. I dare you to stop worrying about outcomes and enjoy the messy early stages of a new project or process. And I dare you, please hear me, I dare you to stop fucking caring what other people think and just do the weird thing that you really want to do. At least try it, right? At least try it. Yeah, that's kind of what I had. But I thought it was really cute that we had 2 cards that felt really like steady and earthy and intentional. And then the third card is kind of fire and heat and why the fuck not energy. I feel like it's a nice balance of both.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Page of Wands is also like very, even though like the literal element is fire, I think there's a lot of fire that doesn't know what it's doing yet. Mm-hmm. And a lot of curiosity and a lot of exploration and a lot of trial and error and research and development. And I think that is like very consistent with the move to Gemini season, TBH. Yeah. It's just very like, okay, that didn't work. On to the next. Mars is also in Aries for most of May still. So, you know, there's a real, like, I'm not taking my own risks and failures personally with the Page of Wands. Yeah. And I love that.
Wow. Okay. The Page of Wands is definitely the rioter for sure, who's like, 100%. I'm not getting paid enough. I'm writing. But Jeanna, you just said 5 and 6 in such beautiful language. 5
Mhm.
is trial and error, and 6 is research and development.
Yeah.
Like, it could not be clearer. Those are
Mhm.
absolutely the energies of May. And then that research and development piece is actually going to follow us into June. So
Mhm.
pay
Yeah.
really close attention. Like, and I think this is really super special to note that we can get stuck in the trial and error. And what you just said about not taking those errors personally
Yeah,
and
not taking your failure personally.
yeah, not getting stuck there because
Yeah.
actually for the next 2 months, we're spending more time in research and development. So if you are in trial and error, because obviously we were in trial and error energy in April as well,
Mhm.
with the overall number being 5. So
Mhm.
if that lands for you, like it's landing for me, that idea of not taking your failures personally, time to get out of that. Like time to just cut that cord,
Yeah.
move on into research and development. You also said the word aftermath, which
Mhm.
is part of how I talk about the number 24, which is the next iteration of 6. So in numerology, we have 15, which we're technically in this month, but the next 6 is 24. And I link aftermath with that. And so with that number, which is also root 6. So I just, again, there's always integration and symbiosis like in what we're doing. But I think, yeah, all the cards, all the astrology, all the numerology is really hitting home that we're still very much in process, but we are looking to like what's the next step of the process and what can we do to get us through.
Yeah, I will also say I'm just so glad the star came out because, like, I don't know, we're recording this in April, and Lord above, has it been a year, but also a month? Wow, and
A
we
really
haven't even
trash month.
a really trash month on a collective level, and I'm like, the star coming out feels very like the Knight of Pentacles is like, cool, we're gonna slow down a bit. And the star is like, and there'll be some like cooling off and healing and stuff
Mhm.
available. I don't know. I am very heartened also by the tarot polls affirming that we're slowing down. But
Yeah, slowing down and being able to like integrate, but also like reorient. It's
Mhm.
like, yeah, we might have, our country, we're in the United States. Like, it might seem like there are these like universal values in our country around what guides us, but the reality is that we are citizens, but we are also human beings first, and we get to decide for ourselves what our personal North Stars are, what our community Stars are, like what our neighbors, what our North Stars are. Like, we get to decide that for ourselves, and we get to live according to those ethics and those values. And the more we're able to do that in our daily lives, not just in the little speeches that we make on social media or like our wildest fantasies, but like actually living that out in meaningful ways, making change, taking action, even if it is Knight of Pentacles, like slow and steady, even if it is Page of Wands, like let's see this and fucking find out what happens. It's all moving towards the same thing. And if we have that North Star clear within ourselves, then it's going to impact every choice that we make in its own way. And I think that's really important to remember.
Yeah. Yeah. And 6 is ethics
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
uh 5 is 5 is the experience that reveals your values,
Mhm.
if that makes sense. Like
Yeah.
you go
That's
through
like the trial by
something.
fire.
Yeah, yeah, and
Yeah.
you're like, "Oh, that I really value this." And then 6 is like, "Okay, what does that mean to you? Like, what does that mean to you? What does that mean in your life?" How I love that word reorient. Like, how does coming to understand a personal value reorient everything around you and your positionality to it? So, there's lot like May feels very I'll just use my own word, feels very juicy to me.
Mhm.
Uh,
Yeah.
but 5 is breakthrough, and so sometimes you do have to hit the wall before you break through, and sometimes, you get hurt in the breakthrough, and so 6 offers healing and offers the opportunity to create new boundaries around your newly identified needs. But that's tricky work. It can be tricky work to really be honest about your circumstances, your values, your needs. And then, yeah, changes, individual changes do change the system. And sometimes things, and this is true to my experience in therapy and really being hammered home in my grad program, is like a lot of times when you start therapy, things get worse before they get better because you're actually doing the digging work. You're actually like coming face to face with your shit, for lack of a better word. And so that gets harder before it gets easier.
Yeah.
Cool. Should we cauldron?
Let's
cauldron.
All right. So for those of you who might be joining us for the first time or who need the refresh, to finish out our episodes, we're going to go through finance, home, love, and health cauldrons or buckets. And finances is up first. This month, because our phrase for numerology was turning the page, I went with tropes for each of the 4 cauldrons. And we'll link these in the show notes if you want to learn more about these tropes. But our trope for money.
We should link to my tarot spreads. I totally forgot.
I know.
Tarot spreads.
We should. Yeah. Meg, was that last year?
I have literally no idea. It could be 10 years ago and it could have been yesterday. I have no concept of time. It might have been last year.
I do think it was last year. Yes. Meg did a tarot and tropes challenge that was super awesome. I loved every second of it. So we'll definitely link those spreads in the show notes. But our trope for money for the month of May is second chance romance. So, second chance romance is probably pretty self-explanatory. However, it is the storytelling concept of a couple that has been together before, went through a breakup, and is now getting this opportunity to have some kind of second lease on their relationship. But for finances, what really came through is it's never too late. So whatever is going on in your financial life, whether that means you need to make changes, whether that means you're advocating for future changes, whatever, it really is never too late to get involved. And this is from writer and teacher Sharon Ray about the second chance romance trope. She writes, "This trope thrives on history, tension, and the possibility of doing things differently." So history and tension, a lot of money stuff happens in those concepts. And again, we're really holding on to the possibility of doing things differently in May.
Love that. So for the astrology with money, on the 2nd, Mercury enters Taurus, which encourages us to be slower, to be more methodical with our money, really attending to our foundations. And this is important because on the 17th, Mercury is going to move out of Taurus and into Gemini, which is one of its home signs. Mercury and Gemini will also make an immediate conjunction to Uranus, which is all about upheaval and change. So the vibe this month with the astrology is very much make sure your foundations are solid in the beginning. I love that it's never too late. Open that high yield savings account, open your retirement account, like never too late, etc. But getting those foundations at least started is going to be really, really helpful for navigating the back half of the month, in which we might be having to make fast pivots, perhaps making fast cash. Low key, I love Mercury and Uranus moving together in Gemini. I'm so happy Uranus is out of Taurus. It just like its nature is so much more symbiotic with air signs. And so it's so much more like change that you don't have to like fight to pivot and do a 10-point turn in a car. Like with Taurus, it's like in Gemini, it's like, oh, I want to pivot. I pivot. It's much, much faster. Hopefully that means good things for our money this month.
Love it. Yeah, I'm here for it. I think the tarot is in agreement with you both because I pulled, to continue the theme of fives, I pulled the 5 of Wands.
Wow.
And I know that the 5 of Wands it can feel like, in certain contexts, I think it can feel like this card of like, oh, arguments and like fighting and like tension and friction and frustration. But listening to you both and thinking about like pivots and never too late to like make moves or make change, it does feel like an opportunity for things to shift in a way that is in alignment. And I don't usually use that word, but like a ways that like our literal values and the things that we care about, which is fire, can kind of align more with how our money is being made, how our money is being spent, how our money is being saved, how just like we think about money. This could feel a few ways, right? This could literally be like, oh, my finances feel a little directionless. I feel confused. But I think the way it might look for a lot of us is that there might be a real shift happening, and that turns into kind of a leveling up in how you handle your money, how you make your money, how your money reflects your desires, etc. So I do think that this is an opportunity for change. Could feel like a crossroads, could feel like some friction and some tension. So I'm going to echo what the others have said. Move with patience and care. Try not to let the fire take over. Instead, if you don't have to decide something immediately or with speed, then don't. Slow the fuck down. Give yourself a break. Read a book, have some tea, talk to somebody, call a financial advisor, do whatever you need to do, but if you don't have to rush it, then don't.
Yeah, so Meg, I love that you said level up, because I think the level up makes me think about the Mercury Taurus to Gemini, with that going through the passage of Uranus, and like second chance, like we're leveling, but also like our dear friend of the podcast, Teresa Reed, likes to say new levels, new devils. And so I really like how the Five of Wands, I think, captures that. Like, yeah, you might be making exciting pivots and like having exciting change, but new levels do bring new devils, as it were. So just being aware of that.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I love that phrase. And also, not for nothing, we're in 15 energy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whoa. Cool. Okay, home. So home is one that has been stumping all of us here at the Coven, not for May, just kind of in general. But I think home for numbers in May is probably the most straightforward. Our trope is found family. So this comes from the Genre podcast, which has a growing tropes glossary. But they wrote about found family, that instead of relying on obligation or tradition, found family emphasizes connection that is intentional. The relationships are chosen, nurtured, and maintained because the characters want them, not because they are expected to. There are so many 5 and 6 keywords in that sentence alone, like my mind is blown. But what I want to point out for May is that we really are looking for intentional relationships or intentional home life, like however home is landing for you. It's what we're choosing. It's what we're nurturing. It's what we're maintaining because we want to, not because we have to.
So again, we've got 3 lunations this month, which means for the astrology of home, I am going to be talking to 3 specific rising signs, one of which is mine, because we each have a lunation lighting up the 4th house of our birth chart. And that is the house of the chart that connects to home, family, heritage, roots, relationships with parents, grandparents, primary caregivers, your physical home, as well as your concept of home. Also can apply to real estate. If you are looking to buy or are looking to sell, you definitely want to pay attention to what's happening in your 4th house and 8th for real estate stuff. But that's neither here nor there. So May 1st, we've got the full moon in Scorpio. This is for Leo risings. Home is what is being lit up for you here at the top of the month. And again, full moons are bringing something to fruition. It doesn't mean something is over, but it does mean that we've reached a peak point in whatever current phase or period we are in. And this may connect. So Leo risings, you might want to look back to the new moon in Scorpio that was on November 20th, yes, 2025, to kind of look at what was starting, being brought up, being revisited around those topics. I would expect them to experience a resurgence, or for something to come to a culmination around that lunation. My fellow Aquarius risings, we have the new moon in Taurus on the 17th of the month, lighting up our home, family, found family, parents, grandparents, heritage, roots, everything. And I will speak for my fucking self, having had Uranus go through my 4th house for the last 8 fucking years. The upheaval in literal where I live, as well as the upheaval in relationship with parents, has been profound. And I am very ready to start planting some new seeds that are not about uprooting my entire life and moving somewhere else. Like, I'm very ready to just sink in and let this new moon like grow something new and steady and stable that is going to serve me for, the next few decades. So that is my wish, my prayer, my hope for my fellow Aquarius risings, that this new moon in Taurus on the 17th would just bring us a lot of much needed steadiness. And then last but not least, Virgo risings. The full moon in Sagittarius on May 31st highlights all of these topics for you. And this is going to connect to December 19th, 2025. Look at what was starting, what was getting initiated, what conversations were beginning, what topics were starting to come to your conscious awareness, and looking around basically that week of like the winter solstice, Yule, Christmas, whatever you celebrate, like that, whatever was really starting to pop around that period is probably going to come up for a revisit at the end of May. Leo risings, Aquarius risings, Virgo risings.
All right. Well, Jeanna just spent a bunch of time talking about the 4th house, so that's going to be my segue into our card, which is the 4 of Swords for home this month.
Whoa.
So I think there's a few ways that this could be interpreted. I tend to think of 4 of Swords as mental boundaries or mental rest. This can also look like letting ourselves sit in the information that we already have, or letting yourselves like really synthesize and absorb the information that we already have. If you've been like doing a ton of research on housing stuff, maybe take a step back and look at what you've actually gathered in terms of information, whether that's like mortgages or real estate agents or what kind of property you want or whatever. Take a break from the research and instead focus on what you've already found. That could be one way that this looks. You also just might need to take a fucking break. This could also just look like literal rest at home. Maybe you've been wanting to make your home feel like more of a cozy sanctuary. Maybe you've been wanting to do some like literal magical protections around your home. Maybe you've been wanting to make it more functional in a way that facilitates calm or focus. We have an ongoing office project where we want to make the space a little bit more calm so that we can focus on the work, and that feels like it's loud for me. But you might also just have some opportunities to enjoy having your literal house to yourself. You are allowed to have privacy. You are allowed to have boundaries around your time and space. You don't have to have people over all the time if you don't want to. You're allowed to say, I just need an hour to myself in a different room if you have roommates or partners or people that you share space with, whatever. But I think in general, this is a great month to be intentional about slowing down, chilling out, enjoying your home for what it is, and just giving yourself some space to breathe and some chances for privacy. That could be what this looks like.
Cool. I really like that.
Mm-hmm.
And that vibes with 6 too as a number. 6 is very much about boundaries and taking space and resting. Yeah. All right, moving on to love. Our trope for the month of May is the slow burn.
Oh, yeah. My favorite. I love a slow burn.
I don't.
Oh, you don't?
I don't always like to read it. What makes slow burn an effective way to tell a story is really quite pertinent to us this month. Slow burn stories require patience and the building of something over time. And with love, and I did not write this, but this is what's coming through too. That also means if you're finding yourself in conflict with a long-term lover this month, you are not just dealing with what's happening now. You are dealing with the whole of what has taken time to build. Okay. So that's a little bit back to that 5. It looks for a quick fix, and 6 says, we got to rehab first. So putting an asterisk there. But this is from the Genre podcast again. Readers who love slow burn often value the journey as much as the outcome. Mm-hmm. The eventual payoff feels satisfying because it reflects shared history. There's history again. Trust. We talked about trust and tension, and emotional investment rather than convenience. So in love, for May, we are in a slow burn. So we're again talking history, trust, and emotional investment over convenience.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. I think the lesson that you were talking about, like the quick fix to, but we gotta, is very much Venus's journey this month. We start, and we talked about this, about the nature of Venus and Gemini and how she's the sluttiest Venus. We talked about all of that for the April forecast. So go back and listen to that if you have Venus and Gemini and you want to hear what we said. But May starts Venus and Gemini, very flirty, but then we end in a much cozier spot. Because toward the end of the month, Venus is going to move into much more private, much more cozy, intimate, let's be at home and cuddle on the couch and watch bad reality TV, Venus in Cancer. And that happens on May 18th. So also like to say, if you want to be planning whether romantic dates or like girls trips, whatever, like if you want fun, flirty, sexy, adventurous, like Instagram stuff, like all of that, Venus and Gemini, like May 1st through 18th, that is your ideal time. And then May 18th through 31st is your ideal staycation, we aren't leaving the bedroom situation. To give you 2 dates specifically for what maybe to do, like end of May, May 22nd, Venus in Cancer squares Neptune in Aries. So Venus-Neptune squares, I've talked about this on the pod before, for early relationships, first dates, that can be a little tricky because Venus-Neptune is love bomb. Like it's idealist, it's rose-colored glasses. It's like, oh, I love the idea of the person, but maybe not the actual person. Like how long can you make a relationship work out of that? Quite a long time if you're me. But deep lore. But I love Venus-Neptune squares for long-term relationships, for long-term partnerships. That's like, if you're just autopiloting in a long-term relationship, like the romance is going to die. You got to be intentional. After a certain, and everyone who's been together for any long amount of time is very fucking aware of how much intentionality and conscious choice it requires. And so just to say, if that is you, May 22nd, beautiful day for an intentional date, an intentional cuddle or more, whatever you'd like. And then don't do a first date on this day, May 28th. Venus is square Saturn. That looks like a no. That looks like a roadblock. That looks like a delay. Venus-Saturn squares happen all the time. I just like wouldn't do a first date on it. So that's love and relationships.
Cute. Okay, well, speaking of slow burn, I pulled the 9 of Wands, which does really feel like a slow burn energy. I love this. I almost feel like I don't have to say anything else because I feel like everything y'all said, I was like, yeah, that's just 9 of Wands shit. I will say if you are in a relationship, like enjoy how long the wonderful, juicy, sexy, complicated, whatever it is, journey that you've taken to get to where you are has been. This could be a time for like looking back together, telling your story to each other, like reviewing major milestones and just like celebrating where you've been. If you're single and you've been looking, this could be a great chance to like, again, reflect on kind of where you've been and where you want to go next. I think of 9s like in that numerological way of like kind of it's the end of the chapter and we're preparing for the next thing. So not quite the same as the turning of the page. It's more like we've finished the book or we finished this section of the book or whatever. We're really kind of moving into a new beginning and preparing for a new journey. So think about where you've been and where you want to go next. And also pay attention to burnout. The other thing about the 9 of Wands is that it can be like we've pushed really, really hard and we're just about to kind of use up the last bit of our energy. So if you've been like doing everything you can to get somebody's attention, maybe take a fucking breath, right? If you've been doing everything you can to like keep a relationship together that really is ready to like finish running its course, maybe let it go, take a breather, you know? And again, if you've been in a relationship that's working really nicely, to Gina's point, this could be a great time to like plan a nice date or do something really intentional to ensure that that energy is going to keep moving in a really steady and lovely way. So that's what I got.
Okay, wrapping us up with our tropes and our cauldrons is our final bucket, health, which I always remember, have never forgotten, obviously.
Not once in your life.
Yeah, never.
Would never.
Our trope for health for the month of May is only one bed.
Yes.
And This is my favorite of the
It's
tropes.
so good.
I really love it. I love that moment when everyone, the realization dawns on everyone that there is only going to be one bed. It's a beautiful moment. But this month, we are looking at more of the idea of you only have one body. So this is from the Genre podcast as well. And this one really spoke to my little body who's recovering from severe disability. What appears to be a small logistical inconvenience often creates heightened awareness, tension, there's tension again, and emotional intimacy. So, thinking about only one body for the month of May and all of our tension filled numbers, we're looking at, again, where we want to be versus where we are, and staying soft and open to the idea that where we are can create additional awareness and understanding. Yes, some tension, but also some real emotional intimacy between ourselves and our bodies. So that's all I want to say.
Love that.
That's
That's
it. The
beautiful.
end.
I mean, what's coming, that feels very resonant because with the astrology, we're moving from Mars and Aries in the beginning of the month, where Mars is domiciled and home and can go as fast as it wants to, but maybe not as fast as our bodies can. And then on May 18th, the same day that Venus changes signs, Mars goes into Taurus, where it's like we're not going fast enough. And so the seesaw with Mars, it happens twice a year, that it moves from debility into domicile or domicile into debility, which is to say it moves from a sign where it's like very fucking strong and can just do shit to a sign where it has to work so hard to do the most basic. Like it can feel very stop start, very abrupt with like tension, but like really abrupt changes that can throw us a little off kilter. So I want to say, like with Mars and Aries, first half of the month, you know, that's the prone to burnout. That's the prone to overexertion, overdoing it. And so we want to be mindful of that, especially May 4th. Mars and Aries is square Jupiter in Cancer. For the love of God, don't overdo whatever physical stuff you have planned. Like it's definitely an energy boost and that's amazing, but like don't overuse, overstrain. But then on the back half of the month, Mars is going into Taurus, and we also don't want to be like trying to force something that isn't going, like trying to force a joint that feels stuck. That will not end well. We just have to move with it and go with the pace of our own body. So
Again, the cards in these tropes and numbers are really in lockstep. I pulled the Six of Pentacles, so we have both 5 and 6 echoed in the cards here. So I love that. And for Six of Pentacles, I want to echo everything that both Bea and Jeanna have said, and also just offer that when I think about the Six of Pentacles in relation to help, it made me really think about like mutual aid and community support, specifically like community acupuncture and like trading services and skills for the wellness of all. That's really what popped up. It also just made me think about, you know, the way that sometimes especially if you're having a lot of trouble like tending to your body by booking a specific service, it's a great time to ask people that you know and trust who they use. For example, I have terrible anxiety about the dentist. I have a really hard time going. I usually don't want to go. But, you know, you ask a friend, who do you have a dentist that's good about anxiety? And guess what? I sure did get a really lovely recommendation that I can even afford. I think it just made me think about like the ways that we help each other care for our bodies. And so I think this could look a lot of ways. It could also look like, you know, going for a walk with a friend on a regular basis, or just building in some ways to tend in a social way. But yeah, I thought the Six of Pentacles for health was really sweet this month. I love that.
I love that. It's so funny. I literally just spoke to a friend yesterday and we were like, we both need to take brisk walks. We should do that together. Like, how can we do this?
Yeah.
Which again was very much like when you think about working out, you're not thinking about brisk walking, but at the same time, like sometimes that's where your body is and that's what you need. And yeah, how can you do that with a friend?
Yeah.
And the community aspects of it too are also really key. I think sometimes in this for-profit healthcare system, we're like, oh, I could never afford that specialty item. But if you, well, quote unquote, specialty item, but if you look around, there are a lot of community healthcare organizations, especially in big cities or bigger cities. There are also a lot of practitioners who offer sliding scale or community access. So you might have to do, this goes back to research and development. You might have to do a little bit of research and to allow your list to develop. But Meg, I'm like, yes, B stamp of approval on everything you've said.
Yay.
Yeah. I'll add just one thing, which is I think that Six of Pentacles, like initiating, like again, in the way that Aries is initiatory, like utilizing that Mars and Aries energy toward research, toward initiating these connections or trades or like body doubling, like that is a really productive and healthy use of like that Mars and Aries energy to like cultivate the Six of Pentacles community. I really love that.
Yeah. It feels very like we can do this together, and it will be maybe a less heavy lift if we're like helping each other through it, or like supporting each other, or like even just texting like, hey, I'm going to take my brisk walk today. Maybe you should think about doing that today too. Or like, let's talk on the phone while we walk, or like, you know, whatever that can look like. But yeah, I think it can look a lot of ways, but I really like the like nourishment and community support that really offers around health. Because so often we do feel so alone with us and our one body. It's like, and we just have the one, but we're not the only ones in that particular situation. So,
yeah. Well, and also we only have one body, but we all learned collectively how interconnected our health is, you know, during the pandemic. And that's something that I wish we all still remembered, but it is what it is.
Real.
Yeah. All right. Any last final thoughts on May?
I'm ready for May, man. Like I am. It cannot get here fast enough. Like this Aries nutso-ness is bullshit.
All right. Well, we'll be back in a few weeks with a conversation. Yeah. And until then, please take care of yourself.
Drink water. Stay safe.